In the summer of 2019, Australia became a continent primed to ignite. Months of record heat and missing rain meant any spark could unleash disaster. Then, a single lightning strike triggered an inferno that merged into a fire front so massive, its smoke circled the entire planet. What conditions transformed a remote blaze into a catastrophe that would scorch 46 million acres, devastate entire ecosystems, and reshape the air we all breathe? The answer begins long before the first flames. Australia's climate in 2019 rewrote the record books. Meteorologists reported the lowest annual rainfall since national records began, with totals dropping more than 30% below the long-term average. Rivers shrank to trickles, and vast stretches of bushland dried out, turning forests and grasslands into a continent-wide tinderbox. By December, the Bureau of Meteorology confirmed that 2019 was Australia's hottest year ever recorded. The national average temperature surged 1.52 degrees Celsius above the 20th century mean, a leap that stunned even veteran climate scientists. Heat waves hammered the southeast, with some towns in New South Wales and Victoria enduring days above 45 degrees Celsius. December 18th set a new national record for the hottest day, with an average maximum of 41.9 degrees Celsius across the country. The Forest Fire Danger Index, Australia's main measure of bushfire risk, spiked to unprecedented levels. In New South Wales alone, authorities declared 6 days of catastrophic fire danger, conditions so extreme that even experienced firefighters called them unmanageable. Across the state, there were 22 days rated extreme and another 72 severe in just 3 months. These numbers dwarfed anything seen in previous decades. The combination of record heat, deepening drought, and relentless wind loaded the dice for disaster. On the ground, dry leaves and branches crackled underfoot, and even rainforests lost their usual damp resilience. In this environment, a single spark, natural or human, could ignite a blaze that would be almost impossible to stop. Lightning struck the Wollemi Wilderness on October 28th, igniting a single blaze in the scrub. Within days, that fire, known as Gosper's Mountain, began to crawl outward, fanned by dry winds and fed by forests that hadn't seen rain in months. By early November, separate fires sparked by more lightning ignitions were burning to the north and west. Wind gusts topping 80 kilometers per hour began driving flames across ridges and valleys, pushing the fronts closer together. Fire crews on the ground watched as spot fires leapt ahead, sometimes landing kilometers beyond the main front. The landscape itself became a maze of shifting flame, smoke, and embers. By December 5th, the Gosper's Mountain fire had merged with the Kerry Ridge and Paddock Run blazes, forming a single, unbroken wall of fire nearly 250 kilometers long. For incident controller Mark Hayes and his team, the map no longer showed separate fires, just a single megafire, stretching from the Hunter Valley almost to the Blue Mountains. Each day brought new tactical dilemmas: which towns to defend, which roads to close, which assets to save as the fire front advanced. Hayes later described the scene as physically impossible to contain, with resources spread thin and the fire's behavior defying predictions. On December 7th, the situation escalated again. The heat grew so intense that the fire created its own weather, spawning a pyrocumulonimbus cloud that towered above the forest and sent lightning arcing back to Earth. This fire-generated storm scattered embers across the landscape, igniting fresh outbreaks miles ahead of the main front. The megafire now operated on a scale that left even the most experienced firefighters searching for answers. The old playbook no longer applied. The fires did not just consume forests. They tore through communities, leaving lives and homes in ruins. At least 33 people lost their lives, among them firefighters who volunteered to defend their neighbors. On January 23rd, a C-130 air tanker contracted to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service crashed near Cooma while dropping fire retardant, killing all 3 crew members. Earlier in the season, volunteer firefighter Jeff Keaton was killed when a burning tree fell onto his truck southwest of Sydney. His colleague, Andrew O'Dwyer, died alongside him. These losses sent shockwaves through the tight-knit ranks of the Rural Fire Service, a reminder of how quickly the line between safety and disaster could vanish. The destruction extended far beyond individual tragedies. More than 3,000 homes were reduced to ash, with entire towns forced to evacuate as fire fronts closed in. In Malakuta, a coastal town in Victoria, around 4,000 people, locals and tourists, were driven to the beach by advancing flames on New Year's Eve. With roads cut and skies turned black at midday, families huddled on the sand as embers rained down, waiting for rescue. Over the following days, the Navy sent HMAS Choules and the support vessel Sycamore to evacuate about 1,100 people by sea in one of Australia's largest peacetime evacuations. For many, the return home would reveal little more than twisted metal and scorched earth where entire neighborhoods once stood. Each loss, each evacuation, each empty street told the story of a summer that upended thousands of lives in a matter of days. The toll on Australia's wildlife during Black Summer defied imagination. Scientists estimate that more than 3 billion animals, mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians were killed or displaced as the flames swept across forests, grasslands, and national parks. Ecologist Dr. Lena Murray, who spent months in the field, described entire habitats reduced to silent, ash-covered wastelands. On Kangaroo Island, lightning ignited fires that burned through 210,000 hectares, including much of Flinders Chase National Park. Rescuers like Dr. Murray and her team set up makeshift triage centers, treating koalas with scorched paws and glossy black cockatoos suffering from dehydration and smoke inhalation. Despite their efforts, the survival rate for severely burned animals remained heartbreakingly low. The scale of habitat loss was staggering. 80% of the Blue Mountains World Heritage Area and over half the ancient Gondwana rainforests in Queensland were scorched. These landscapes, home to species found nowhere else on Earth, became graveyards overnight. In the aftermath, ecologists warned that some populations, like the greater glider, had been pushed to the brink of local extinction. The fires did not just destroy individual animals, they erased entire ecosystems, severing food chains and fragmenting habitat that had taken millions of years to evolve. For many species, the path to recovery remains uncertain, shadowed by the threat of more frequent and intense fires in a warming climate. Smoke from the Black Summer fires did not stay confined to Australia. Driven by the heat of fire-generated thunderstorms, plumes of soot and ash punched deep into the stratosphere, reaching altitudes of 24 kilometers, higher than commercial jets. Scientists tracking the event used satellites like Himawari 8 and Calypso to watch as this dense black cloud spread eastward at astonishing speed. In just 2 weeks, the smoke crossed the Pacific and darkened skies over South America. Air quality monitors in New Zealand recorded hazardous levels, with the air quality index topping 150 and turning the snow on South Island's peaks a dirty orange. In the stratosphere, the smoke persisted for months, warming the upper layers of the atmosphere by up to 2 degrees Celsius and shifting the path of the southern hemisphere jet stream for nearly 3 weeks. Estimates put the total mass of injected soot between 300,000 and 900,000 metric tons, enough to circle the planet in a smoky band visible from space. For the first time, a wildfire's fingerprint could be traced around the globe, confirming that what began as a regional disaster had altered the very air above an entire hemisphere. Crews from across Australia and overseas faced a fire ground that seemed to defy every rule they knew. In the worst-hit forests, flames shot more than 60 meters into the air, taller than a 20-story building, roaring through dry eucalypt canopies with a force that melted road signs and warped steel. On the ground, firefighters worked shifts that stretched 16, sometimes 18 hours, day after day, with little sleep and no relief from the choking smoke. Many were volunteers, leaving behind families and jobs to stand between the fire and entire towns. Helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft thundered overhead, dropping water and fire retardant on advancing fronts. Across the season, pilots logged thousands of hours in the air, but even with this massive aerial effort, the lines rarely held for long. Under catastrophic conditions, ground crews often watched containment lines vanish in minutes, overrun by firestorms that leapt rivers and highways. The sense of exhaustion was everywhere. Faces streaked with ash, radios crackling with urgent calls for backup, boots melted by radiant heat. For weeks, the fight was not about stopping the fires, but about saving lives and defending whatever could be saved. Every hour on the line was a gamble, and every shift ended with the knowledge that the fire was still moving, still hungry, still unstoppable. Today, wildfire smoke travels farther than ever, crossing oceans, altering weather, and reshaping air we all breathe. As climate extremes intensify, no continent stands alone. The scars of Black Summer warn us, local disasters can become global. The world is smaller and the stakes are rising. Share your thoughts below.